Mm-hmm. Waka waka wow. Best guitar player of all time.
Jimi Hendrix.
Isn't Trey really good on playing the guitar?
Yeah, everything that Trey does, somebody else probably did better. The one thing I'll say about Trey is that whenever they opened for Santana, who's up there on the list, he said when he saw drool coming down Trey's face while he was in a solo, he knew he was probably going to do things in rock and roll.
Nice.
I have drool when we're recording the show.
Let's do this thing.
You got a team, here's a word to the wise. You want to dominate your league? Go to football, guys.
Football. I'm living in a fantasy. Football. Got everybody mad at me. Football. Cause every game I had to win. Football. I gotta be a champion. Football. I'm living in a fantasy.
That's right. Got to be a champion. Week 15 fantasy playoff time. And we're here to recap the weekend that was almost Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom, and the Audible. And on Saturday, the Broncos ruined it for me. The Steelers ruined it for me. Hell, Colorado State Mines football ruined it for me, Bloom.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good Saturday for me. But let's talk about the three games briefly, just some brief takeaways from these contests. We're going to jump into Sunday's action recording. Of course, we got the afternoon games. Got a hell of a scorcher for Sunday night. So we'll get through Sunday's games, but let's briefly go over Saturday. Just your overall thoughts.
Yeah, I think in Minnesota and Cincinnati, for fantasy, the biggest takeaway is Nick Mullins is going to make this offense fine, and maybe Joshua Dobbs, even though the story was so good, shouldn't have gotten one more start like he did previously. Minnesota loses because they tried 2 straight quarterback sneaks. Usually if the quarterback sneak doesn't work on third down, you don't try it again on third, second, I mean, whatever it was in overtime. Jake Browning looked like for a while there, if you started Jake Browning, you lost your matchup because of it. And then it came around. Now, Jamar Chase did get hurt in this one. T. Higgins having a big game. So we're going to watch that. The Joe Mixon, Chase Brown screen game slow down a little bit. But Jake Browning somehow finding a way to win, keeping this team in the playoff hunt. And they're going to face the Steelers next week, who I don't care what the math says. They're eliminated in my heart and in my mind, as this is an offense that erases all fantasy value, or at least fantasy consistency from anybody. Gardner Minshew having a really good day against the Steelers pass defense, even though Michael Pittman left with a concussion in this one. He's in concussion protocol, he's whatever they call it, however they classify it. So we'll see. But even with Pittman out, Minshew had a solid game. So Minshew trying to streak to a playoff berth here. And Zach Moss also goes down. Maybe we'll get Jonathan Taylor back next week. But if not, Trey Sermon against Atlanta. And maybe Matt Waldman wasn't completely crazy where he was ranking Trey Sermon, as Trey Sermon showed some stuff in that one. And then the Broncos and the Lions. It's been a while since you've seen the Broncos get a good old-fashioned beatdown. Well, a couple of months. And that's good for the Lions to get their confidence back. The Broncos showing us, just like the Steelers, there's not really anybody you can truly trust in your lineup. Even Cortland Sutton going without a touchdown here. The Lions, on the other hand, Sammy Laporta with the 3 touchdowns, helping a lot of teams advance. And Jahmyr Gibbs helping a lot of teams advance. Lions feeling good. And Hunter Henry got hurt, so he might not get to score 3 touchdowns against the Broncos next week. Detroit is going to face Minnesota. So it looks like having Minnesota twice in the last 3 weeks might not put the division in danger. But Detroit would like to finish this one emphatically.
Finish him. That's what we're talking about with Week 15, Week 1 of the fantasy playoffs. And the Cleveland Browns are 9-5 with Joe Flacco slinging it. 20-17 is the final score. I can hear you type, Bloom, so be careful with that. He's like, okay. Or mute your mic when you go to type. Anyway, like the Browns, the winning. All right, 20-17 it is. Justin Fields out there. The future is going to be Justin Fields, I guess. I mean, honestly, with the Bears, Bloom, I kind of want to talk more about the future than this contest specifically, but Fields throwing a couple of picks, 1 touchdown. Browns defense is legit, okay. And definitely, I don't want to speak out of turn, some 2015 Broncos vibes from the Browns. Like just the way that defense can absolutely carry a team. But let's talk about the Bears side first and what we didn't see from, well, pretty much everyone.
Yeah, and I think you're right to lead with the Browns defense here. And Denzel Ward being back, that limited DJ Moore. You did see a Justin Fields Houdini touchdown. That's what you have to do to score against the Browns defense when it's on. Was to Cole Kmet. And I got to say, Cease, it's in my notes. You called the backfield. You called it. Dante Foreman, I was saying, hey, it looks like he's lead back. He started slow. Saw more Roschon Johnson. There's not anybody you can trust. You saw some speed from Tyler Scott in this one that set up a Hail Mary that literally fell into Darnell Mooney's lap. Literally.
Right there.
He couldn't clutch it. Literally fell into his lap. And it was that close. But like you said, Cease, what's feeling close is the future. And I'll say this. We didn't have to wait very long because I was probably one of the people saying, Montez Sweat, you traded a second-day pick for Montez Sweat when you could have just signed him. Well, they did sign him, and he outplayed Myles Garrett in this one. So Matt Eberflus in this defense is saving his job. It looks like this team's going to go into the future intact. And like you said, Cease, for the Browns, the future may include a payoff berth.
Yeah, it may include a playoff win. And there'll be a tough out with that defense. Joe Flacco, 3 picks, 374, 2 touchdowns on the day. Amari Cooper is a slant god, 4 for 109, and a touchdown. The big 51-yarder was exciting. David Njoku, heavily favored, 14 targets, 10 for 104, and a touchdown. All right, Marquise Goodwin had a big 57-yarder. Nobody started him. Cedric Tillman, 4 for 52 in this contest. Ground game didn't do anything. So this was defense, Cooper, Njoku, and 1 play from Goodwin, basically, Bloom.
Basically. And remember, they only gave up 1 offensive touchdown. It was Tremaine Edmonds. Another good signing there for Chicago with a defensive touchdown. And it looked like that was going to be enough to hold up. And then Joe Flacco, first, the 3 picks, including the 1 return for a touchdown. You thought he threw away their playoff chances. But then he saved them again. A big pass to Amari Cooper and David Njoku. You just see the trust there. The touchdown was thrown into no window. Sometimes there's no window at all. But Joe Flacco is a veteran quarterback. He's going to make his window. He's going to break a window. And David Njoku is going to reach through it and catch the ball. So we're not going to get questions about them. Maybe about the backfield, Jerome Ford. This is a Joe Flacco offense. And it's a better pass offense than we saw with Deshaun Watson. This team controls their destiny for the playoffs, and it's going to be a fantastic and interesting game against another team that sweated out today, the Houston Texans.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get to that Texans game in just a little bit, but we've got Buccaneers and Packers, Battle of the Bays, Battle of the Pigs, whatever Chris Berman used to say. And let's get it on because Tampa Bay side first, which includes plenty to talk about with Baker, the baby maker, 4 touchdowns. If somehow, some way, or maybe start 2 QB leagues, you had him in your lineup, Baker did you good. 381, 4 touchdowns on the day. Chris Godwin, 10 for 155. Seems like the only player catching passes that didn't score a touchdown. David Moore, 2 for 68 and a touch. Mike Evans, 4 for 57 and a touch. Rachaad White, 2 for 50 and a touch as a receiver. Cole Cleft. He had his first catch of the year, and it was for a touchdown. Their big fullback getting it done. Rachaad White also had 21 for 89. So Rachaad White is the answer. It's the reason why we had him as a top 5 fantasy back this week. But the Buccaneers at 7-7, man, they're trying. Baker's out there, throwing those haymakers today. It paid off.
Yeah, it's still leading the division. And remember, in the NFC, if you're sitting at 7-7 right now, you could also be a wild card. So this has been a stirring season for Baker Mayfield to add another act to his career. And we talked about this a lot earlier this year. Baker Mayfield as a plucky underdog. Baker Mayfield is a player who can overcome the limitations of himself and his team. That's a compelling story. Baker Mayfield as a number 1 pick, an entitled player already getting endorsements. That story is over. This story is really fun for fantasy football, especially if you started Chris Godwin, even though he was a game time decision. And if he was a decision to be in your lineup, he finally put up a big game for us. We also saw Mike Evans get a touchdown. We also saw Rachaad White get another long receiving touchdown, have a run to help ice this game. And this is a team that is coming together. And youth on the defensive side of the ball, they had a really good game, maybe even better than the score indicates. Really interesting game across Florida rivalry with Jacksonville next week.
Yeah, we will talk about the Packers side now. Jordan Love, 39 passing attempts, 29 completions, 284 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Dontavian Wicks, 6 for 97, and his routes are a thing of beauty. Tucker Kraft, 4 for 57 and a touchdown. Jaden Reed, 6 for 52 and a touchdown. Romeo Dobbs, I still love him, 3 for 30. Aaron Jones, 13 for 53. So this is how the Packers try to put up a fight. And you see, what did I hear the announcers say, Bloom? The average age of the Packers receivers is 23.
Right.
That's a good sign. That's a great sign as they continue to mesh and go forward. And that's why we're excited, certainly Dynasty, about guys like Wicks, Reed, Dalbs, etc.
Yeah, and this was a game where, again, one of the touchdowns was set up by a Baker Mayfield sack strip fumble. So it wasn't necessarily an offensive bonanza, but it did show us that you want to start offensive passing game pieces against Tampa. It worked out basically if you started any of those pieces. Jordan Love and the promise of the wide receivers and tight ends, but this is an oof for their playoff hopes. You did see Jaden Reed make one of the best toe tap touchdowns you will see. He also hurt his toe in this game, so watch that going into the game against Carolina next week. Dontavian Wicks, like you said, my man Lang pops up. How did he fall to the 5th round? Well, UVA, they changed the offense in his senior year, and he did not adjust to it. He was an explosive player in his junior year. This was the player we saw in his junior year. We didn't see it in the senior year. So Goody, all these picks, except for maybe Dobbs. I mean, Dobbs is still working out for how little they had to pay for him. But you can look at these guys, and like you said, Cecil, the wide receivers, not just the wide receivers, the tight ends. Luke Musgrave, who looked good, is on IR right now. Tucker Kraft's out there hurdling fools, running fools over, looking really good. And as Dane Brugler told us on the couch back in the spring, he was a player that Alabama pursued as a transfer this past year, and he wanted to keep playing for his team. So this is to tell you the caliber that Tucker Kraft is. And now this could be one of those situations like Dixon and Pitta, but maybe more like Hernandez and Gronkowski, where both of these guys can hit and can give them lots of different looks out of 2 tight end sets because we can see what they have there. And Aaron Jones at least held up in this game, but didn't do a lot for us. Doesn't seem like he's going to be 100% this season, a la Austin Eckler. So much like Chicago, Cease, not a very happy day, but when you look to the future is bright for Green Bay.
What about a happy day with the overtime victory for the Houston Texans? That right, 19-16 over Tennessee. And we knew Tennessee was going to be plucky in this one. And then when I got the news about C.J. Stroud, I was like, oh, there goes my fun. Case Keenum, though, they prefer the veteran and his experience over Davis Mills. And, well, what did he start, like 10 games last year, whatever the number is? Like, oh, well, they preferred Keenum, and he led him to the victory. 1 touchdown, 1 INT, 229 on the day. Noah Brown, of course, a team dealing with Nico Collins banged up, of course, and that's very disappointing. But Noah Brown back out there, 8 for 82 and a touchdown. Dalton Schultz, 4 for 58. Some big catches along the way. Devin Singletary, 4 for 49 as a receiver. 26 for 121 as a rusher. Just let it be Singleton. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be, Bloom. Like, if stop screwing around with Dameon Pierce, okay?
Yeah.
Just let Singleton do it. Run him into the ground and enjoy this type of production, which helped you win.
Yeah, it was a Singletary performance. And very much, I'll do the Houston side, but then I want to take a moment out, right? So from a fantasy perspective, Case Keenum comes out and throws a pick 6. This game looked like it was going to get away from the Texans right away. And they did not give up in this one. Devin Singletary, how many times does he have to show he can handle the load? How do you know that Devin Singletary can handle the load? In overtime, he housed it. It was called back by penalty. So after handling 20-plus touches in overtime, because this is something talking about college scouting, like you have a special little column in your college running back scouting reports of how do they look in the fourth quarter? How do they look in the fourth quarter after they've been running hard all day? Now you might say if they hadn't saved him, but whatever. Devin Singletary can handle it. Noah Brown can handle being a number 1 receiver. Who saw this when he was with Dallas for all those years? Well, Houston did, apparently. Apparently, this team, really, Nick Caserio did, as this team really is getting a lot out of backups, maybe players that shouldn't have been backups, certainly weren't backups for your fantasy team. Even Dalton Schultz, who got back out there, saved an interception at the goal line. We saw that on the other side of the ball in this one. But I want to make a little sanctimonious speech here. As Case Keenum in overtime makes enough plays, Devin Singletary makes plays, and his team is very much in the playoff hunt. How beautiful was it, Cease, seeing Kaimi Fairbairn kick that winning field goal through a end zone that said Oilers.
Mm-hmm.
Bud Adams, the Adams family. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you revive the Houston Oilers uniforms and logo against the Houston Texans?
Right.
Why? What possible reason is there that doesn't come out of someplace negative, someplace hurtful even?
Oh, yeah.
And this game, I hope, unless you are a Titans fan, you were rooting for the Texans and that you were happy with this outcome. And remember where Case Keenum played his college football in Houston.
University of Houston. Yep.
So interesting, a little wink there, as this game really looked like the Texans were going to get blown out at the beginning. They didn't give up. And there was a little smile from D'Amico Ryans at the end of this one. And that's my coach of the year right there. And this was the game that clinched it.
Yeah. Well, you speak of positivity, right? Be a good proton. Stay positive.
Yeah.
D'Amico Ryans, staying positive. That's sure Albert says because they are losers.
Correct answer. The judges would also accept that. Yes.
Ding, ding, ding. That is the correct answer. Let's talk about the Titans side. It's not Will Levis's fault. 199, no touchdowns, 1 INT. Traylon Burks, 3 for 62. Chris Moore, 3 for 39. Chiggy Okonkwo, 3 for 36. Will Levis had a rushing touchdown. Derrick Henry had less than a yard per carry. So you see what kind of day it was. And they tried balance, 30 carries, but only 66 yards on the day. The Texans were prepared for that, and in overtime, the Titans fall short.
Yeah, this was a game. See, we can cast a lot of these recaps in terms of if you had this player, you advanced. If you had this player, maybe you didn't. Probably you didn't. Derrick Henry. People were circling this. Actually, both of these, because he's coming up again in week 17. These teams are going to play again. As, ooh, yeah, this is a reason to like Derrick Henry. I think the refrain on Twitter this week, Cease, was happy Derrick Henry against Houston week. Not happy. Sad. 20 touches, 10 yards. 20 touches, 10 yards. Wow. DeAndre Hopkins didn't do much. It was actually Traylon Burks. And on the other side, it was a day of Moores. For Tampa, it was David Moore catching a touchdown, but then doing the classic Leon Lett move. We just brought up Don Beebe, Cease.
I know.
And David Moore did it, but inconclusive. I think he probably lost the ball before he crossed the goal line.
I think so as well. And when they brought that up about Don Beebe and Leon Lett, I was like, do the kids even know?
Do they know?
Do the kids even know, man?
They need to know. And don't ever give up. And Chris Moore didn't give up, saving one that Will Levis threw that should have been an interception. Will Levis getting banged up at the end of this one. Started out strong. Again, Traylon Burks making some plays. Not DeAndre Hopkins, not Chiggy Okonkwo. And Levis getting a little banged up in this one. So, Tennessee will play spoiler against Seattle. And again, I hope we never have to even comment on this Oilers thing again, Cease, because when I heard about it, I didn't like it. And when I saw it, I really didn't like it. But when I saw the ending, I like that.
You like that. Sweet poetic justice. Don Beebe, the reason why we say foot frequency on this show, Bloom. Remember we used to say like steps per yard, talking about Darius Sproles?
Mm-hmm.
Don Beebe, foot frequency.
Mm-hmm.
That's his phrase. Don Beebe, house of speed.
Yeah.
Let's talk about 30-0. Dolphins over the Jets. Is there much to say on the Jets side, Bloom? I'm not even going to look at the box score. We'll talk about the Dolphins. Let me set you up for the Dolphins. But for the Jets side, do you have anything specific? Zach Wilson banged up.
Yeah.
They didn't score any points, baby.
He left with a head injury, but isn't in concussion protocol. Dehydration, I saw. And, Mike McDaniel, he owns Bill Belichick, and I guess he owns Robert Saleh, his former colleague, too, as both of these games were, the Jets are usually a tough out, even with Zach Wilson, but not in this one. Last week was just a dream that we, especially Zach Wilson, just woke up from. The Texans woke up from their nightmare, as we just recapped. Breece Hall teams, after he had a good week last week, they're probably thumped Garrett Wilson. At least you were warned about the wind in this one. They're probably departing from the fantasy playoffs. And Washington and the Jets next week. Cecil, I just think we're all going to watch to see, is Robert Saleh going to be the fall guy for this? And like we've said, if he is, congratulations to the team that adds a good man and a good coach.
Yeah, somebody's going to get a good one. Mike McDaniel's a good one. I still want to see him in the postseason beat someone when it actually matters. No Tyreek Hill in this contest. We're like, oh my God, Jalen Waddle, more than fine. 8 for 142 and a touchdown. And remember, he's been playing hurt all season long. Durham Smythe, 4 for 32. Nobody started him. You started Devin Achane, 3 for 30 in this one. Also 9 for 32 as a rusher. Raheem Mostert had 2 rushing touchdowns. He's sucking up all the fantasy points there. And then Tua Tagovailoa, 224, 1 touchdown, no INT. So let's talk about Miami. Rolling 10-4, but still questions about the team, considering who they play and, who they're going to play in the postseason.
Yeah, I think that it was the Jalen Waddle show. He even got a little banged up in this one, left briefly with a chest injury. You did see Raheem Mostert get a couple of short touchdowns here, one of them set up by Bradley Chubb. How's it covering Bradley Chubb, Cease?
He's a good man. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's making plays and getting praise and making a difference in this defense. Devin Achane, the best you can say if you put him in today was he was still in when the game was decided. So I don't think they're that worried about his toe, even though he only got in one limited practice this week. And that was it. Want to learn about this team? When they play Dallas next week, we're going to learn about Miami.
Mm-hmm. That's a big one. Kansas City and the New England Patriots, not as big. But and again, what do we learn about the Patriots? What do we learn? Okay. 27-17, Chiefs get the win, and Chiefs are back on top. But Pat Mahomes, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs, 305 on the day. Jet McKinnon had a touchdown pass, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire put him on his shoulders, basically. No Isaiah Pacheco. And CEH goes 4 for 64 and a touchdown as a receiver, 13 for 37 on the ground, whatever. This team isn't running well. But if your answer at receiver with all these questions is like, what do they do if they bottle up Travis Kelce? Well, if the answer is Clyde Edwards-Helaire can hurt you as a receiver, then yeah, that's the answer. Kelce had 5 for 28, by the way. Jet McKinnon also had a touchdown reception. CEH with that touchdown reception. Rashee Rice, he's getting better. For the people that say the Chiefs don't have anyone at wide receiver, no, they do. His name is a rookie. His name is Rashee Rice, and you better get used to this guy's name. He's coming along, Bloom. But Kansas City, it feels good for them to get back and dust off their shoulders after last week's embarrassing ending against the Bills.
And this was a close one. For a little bit, it looked like maybe this game was going to be a potential upset. Maybe the Bill Belichick farewell tour was going to include some memorable games, but no, what was memorable here was, Clyde Edwards-Helaire finally doing something. Now, one of the plays, the 48-yard reception, was it's very rare, Cease, that you see a screen pass, and on the side of the field of the screen pass, there are no defenders. There are 3 blockers, and there was no one for them to block. Also, Clyde Edwards-Helaire show him your 2-inch vertical leap, skied for a touchdown of some Patrick Mahomes magic in this one. If you had a question, Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Jerick McKinnon, no, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jerick McKinnon. Why not both as McKinnon scores? And on the Rashee Rice touchdown, it was a little pop pass, not from Patrick Mahomes, from Jerick McKinnon. So Jerick McKinnon getting in the Taysom Hill act, scoring as a quarterback passer, a pass that you or I can make. And Travis Kelce, on the other hand, not doing very much. Dropped a touchdown. How many times do you see Travis Kelce hear footsteps? He was going to get blown up, and one glance off his hands. He got banged up at the end of this game. So maybe some Travis Kelce teams heading home. Kansas City getting tuned back up. Another tune-up game next week with Las Vegas coming to Arrowhead.
I like that. Tuning them up. Kansas City trying to get it done. New England just trying to get through the end of the season. Does it even matter? I mean, Hunter Henry, I guess, 7 for 66 and a touch. I don't know if you're starting Devontae Parker, 544. Again, Bloom, I'll just throw it to you like this. Does it even matter? Thought you might see more from Zeke. He didn't do anything. Like, okay, then they're rolling into the Mile High City on Christmas Eve, doing the pregame show by myself, Christmas Eve night. So there's that.
Cease, I think that Robert Kraft needs a really good real estate agent to sell the head coaching job for this team that is about to be open, right? Like, oh, it's not small, it's cozy. It's not that we don't have a quarterback, it's there's opportunity to pick your own quarterback. It's not that we don't have weapons on offense, it's that you can design the offense that you want. You know, I don't know how you sell a coach on this team, what they have to go forward with, I guess, on the defensive side, but how much of that is Bill Belichick's fingerprints? Again, for Bailey Zappi, it was a tale of two halves. In the first half, he started out hot. He looked good. He was making some throws. He was looking a lot to Hunter Henry and Devontae Parker. And with Hunter Henry, you might consider him as a what the heck tight end next week, except he had a knee injury in this game. Again, going up against Denver, who just gave up those 3 touchdowns, but we're going to have to monitor Henry on the injury report. And like you said about Zeke, just wasn't there. The effort was there. The holes weren't there. The production wasn't there. You're still going to get those touches, kind of like Zach Moss before Zach Moss got hurt on Saturday, when you know it's a clear sole lead running back. Kevin Harris got that garbage time touchdown. It is Zeke's backfield. Maybe against Denver, there'll be something there. Like you said, Cecil, pretty easy to run on Denver, but 180 some yards on the ground for Detroit. Well, New England's not Detroit, but maybe Zeke will do a little bit better. Maybe that will be a reason to watch New England and Denver. You know, it stands for Jets just end the season, but it's much more apt when we're talking about the Patriots.
Yes, about the Pats. Please end the season.
Please axe the season. Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot. Tommy DeVito's agent is Chris Manhert's agent. Did you know that?
He just went into the Italian Sports Hall of Fame. He was wearing his Italian Sports Hall of Fame green jacket today.
That's awesome. That is awesome, man. And also, I saw doing a lot of charity work around the Chicago area, I believe. So, yeah, man. Yeah, it's cool. And seeing all the sportscasters get into it is cool there as well. Giants and Saints, not cool if you're a Giants fan, because it didn't go well for you today. The New Orleans Saints get that victory in the Superdome, 24-6, the final score. Tommy DeVito side. Let's start Giants. See, I didn't even call them the Giants. They're the Tommy DeVitos. But Darius Slayton, 4 for 63. Darren Waller's back, 4 for 40. Wan'Dale Robinson, 4 for 25. What is this, a Wendy's commercial? And Tommy DeVito, 20 of 34, 177. Tyrod Taylor actually got in the game there as well, as DeVito was sacked 7 times. Whew. That's what we call a rough day at the office. Barkley didn't do anything. DeVito did barely anything. Like, not a good day if you were starting or considering any Giants.
No. What would it be? Instead of turning back into a pumpkin, turning back into an eggplant? I don't know. Someone said, send him, New Orleans has a ton of great Creole Italian restaurants. They said, just take him out to Mosca's, get him like 10 pounds of oysters, Mosca, and he won't play the same. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. He also had to leave the game really briefly because he did the classic, like, oh, I'm in so much pain after a late hit to make sure the flag came. And they said, well, you're in so much pain, you have to go get checked by the independent neurologist. Right. That's why we saw Tyrod. DeVito was 3-1 as the starter for the Giants going into this game, wildly. But if you started Saquon Barkley, you might be going home. It's not like it was the wrong move to start Barkley. We've seen him have some big games. We've seen him have some games like this with DeVito. Wan'Dale, Waller at least had one play where he got free. You could see that he could open it up. He is healthy-ish, well, as healthy as Darren Waller gets. And next week, they get to try to play spoiler against Philadelphia.
Let's talk Saints, and that means Derek Carr, 3 touchdowns on the day. Alvin Kamara leads the team, though, in receiving with 5 for 44. Huh? Okay. Alvin Kamara also had 16 for 66. Double get out on the ground. Juwan Johnson with the receiving touchdown. Jimmy Graham, 8 catches on the year, 4 touchdowns on the season. And Keith Kirkwood had a touchdown. So if there was ever a game where name a game that's going to have 3 touchdowns with no fantasy, nobody's getting those touchdowns in fantasy, welcome to the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, without Chris Olave, you didn't really have a standout receiver, but you did see Pete Carmichael play design often working, including the touchdown to Jimmy Graham, which it's awesome to see him back there scoring touchdowns in the Superdome. They get fired up when Jimmy Graham scores a touchdown. And he's been doing that actually a lot this season. Derek Carr, maybe it is all the injuries. Maybe it is 3 different times having broken ribs. Maybe it is multiple concussions. As he looked like he was in focus, executing. Why would you sign Derek Carr? Because you know he's going to go out and execute the plays, true to the play. And he was doing that in this one against the Giants defense. It was a pretty tough out lately, but not in this one, as New Orleans controls their destiny and next week plays another one of those teams that they need to exercise the demons, the Rams.
Yeah, let's see if they can actually do that. It is the Week 15 recap, Week 1 of the fantasy playoffs. It is the audible Cecil, Lammey, and Sigmund Bloom here. 1 game left in a downpour. Yeah. I feel sorry for my friend, your friend, Mark Schlereth, because he did this game.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, Atlanta, Carolina, stinks gotta... And I'm biased, obviously, but Fox, get him moved up the list, baby. Get him moved up. He does a really good job on the games. He's really improved, just like as a broadcaster. When Stink's improved and, becomes so dominant in the local market, like, yeah, he's doing Atlanta and Carolina. Give me a break. Then it was a downpour. So, Bloom, since we're saving the best for last, I'm going to throw the entire game at you. Just tell me what you saw. Because I was tuning into Red Zone, and when Stink's voice would come on, I would perk up.
Right.
Outside of that, I wasn't paying attention to this game. And Carolina wins. Hey, Atlanta, we're going to put up to the Ether. Nope. Carolina's going to get their second win of the season, 9-7. I'm throwing the whole game at you, brother.
Sure.
Just tell me what you saw.
Did you hear the Schlereth pearl of wisdom? Maybe the magic pill you're looking for is the work you're not willing to do. Did you ever tell everyone that was the surprise, that Mark Schlereth was going to get whisked away by his family and you had to cover for him?
Yep.
How did that go? Did it go well?
It went great. Yeah. They went to see U2 in the Dome in Vegas.
Sphere.
In the Sphere. Yeah. So he went, and they had, like, it was from Me to the Door from Bono.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Make eye contact.
Oh, yeah. So Schlereth had a good time.
It looks like Fish is going to be the next band to play the Sphere, by the way, and send people, turn them into a glass of orange juice or something like that. Really? Wow. This is going to be, the tickets are really hard to get. Anyone got tickets? Anyone got a line? I'm kidding. What I'm not kidding about is Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder, well, I'll give them to some friends of mine that more desperately want them than me. Desmond Ritter's terrible. Desmond Ritter is really.
You're never mean. I'm the mean one on this show. You're never mean, but that's true. This
is how this game basically got decided. It was 7-6 Atlanta. Atlanta was driving down the field. Ritter tried to make some sort of improvisation play and threw it directly to a Panthers defender. It was an easy interception, and it was a red zone interception. It was a red zone interception where I'm sure the directive is just don't turn the ball over. Just don't turn the ball over on this play. Sit down if you need to. Just don't turn the ball over. And, well, that was it. And what went along with that? Because we can trace this all the way back to the beginning of the season. Do you take Drake London? Do you take Kyle Pitts? Do you take Bijan Robinson? All these players in some way depend on Desmond Ridder. How did it work out today? If you were depending on the Falcons, and you can blame it on the downpour if you want, but it's Desmond Ridder. It's been Desmond Ridder all along. I appreciate that Arthur Smith tries. And if you've been talking about Cease, it's actually a question now, I think, whether Arthur Smith should keep his job. I'm guessing Arthur Blank is not going to let him go. Patterson scored the only touchdown here, and that was on a pop pass. So, Desmond Ridder can throw that touchdown. For Carolina, I have one note, Cease. Well, they won another game. Atlanta is going to play Indy next week. Carolina is going to play Green Bay. And for the people who sat through that game, they should get some sort of, special free merch at the Panthers Pro Shop if they're willing to wear it.
Prize, some sort of door prize. But that would cost Dave Tepper money. Anyway, have we learned anything about Bryce Young? I feel a lot like Trevor Lawrence's rookie season, and that's where the little tiny ray of hope comes through. In Trevor Lawrence's rookie year, it was like, come on. Week 17 or whatever the God blessed last game is, he looked like that guy. I'm hoping we see that from Bryce Young. So
I don't know. See, there was one play in this one. Hamilton, I think, 96 for the Falcons, a defensive lineman, right? If you're wearing 96. Bryce Young was trying to scramble and get to the corner, get to the edge, and he couldn't outrun the defensive lineman. I mean, if you're a light quarterback, if you're a small, lithe quarterback, and you can't outrun defensive linemen, what moves do you have, really, unless you're going to be Drew Brees in this spectacular pocket passing offense with bucket accuracy to all parts of the field, set up by Sean Payton, and we've got to mention Pete Carmichael. He's been along there too. What do you have? What's the model? I don't know. I've yet to see. I said this a few weeks ago, or maybe a week ago. I'll say it again. Even with Trevor Lawrence, even at least Trevor Lawrence had the Urban Meyer excuse, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But at least you could see why Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 overall pick. You could see why people said he was a generational prospect. I'm not saying that in those games it resulted in anything or it was consistent or they put one play after another, but you're not even seeing a drive. And some of this is a failing of the organization because you should have some idea why you made the player the number 1 overall pick. And as we documented from the very beginning of the season, it was a meek offense. It was an offense that set him up to not fail. That doesn't work in the NFL. That has never worked in the NFL and never will work in the NFL. And you could say, well, at least they moved on from Frank Reich. It was the wrong choice. But the same organization that made that choice is going to make the next choice. So it's not looking good.
Not good at all. But what's good is hanging out with you, Sigmund.
Oh, it's always good, and what's good is surviving in the fantasy playoffs. And I'm using that word surviving because I think now more than ever this year, fantasy football is senseless. Does it reward football knowledge? Does it reward, I don't know what it even rewards other than persevering. And if your team is in the playoffs, you probably persevered and you just try to get to the playoffs so that maybe the breaks will go your way. Maybe the weather, maybe the injuries will go your way. Maybe they won't. But that's really not that different than the NFL. It's why winning is so sweet and why we're going to stay with you till the end, whether you win or not.
Yeah, we are here for you. He's Sigmund Bloom. Follow him on Twitter at Sigmund Bloom. I am at Cecil Lammey saying we appreciate you all. And let's go watch these afternoon games. And then the Sunday night football game there as well. Be back for you on Tuesday with our NFL kind of wavery kind of news. I don't know what we should call that show, Bloom.
Waking up with the Audible. Tuesday
Waking
morning,
up with the
Audible.
Oh, coffee with the Audible. I like it. All right. It's Sunday. Let's get back to watching football. He's Sig. I'm Cease. We are the Audible. Everyone, thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.